you're gonna blow into them, use a mask of some kind. So we want you to always be prepared and ready to help with a mask of some. I'm gonna tell you what to do if you don't have a mask in a second, but that's what we suggest. Gloves and mask is minimum protection. So now if this is a family member, you're not gonna care so much about a mask or gloves, right? You're just gonna go to work. If it's a family member, someone close to you, a good friend, or even someone that works at the YMCA, because you guys are like the YMCA family, so you guys would, you know, ventilate each other if you needed to, right? Not so much. You're not that close. Maybe not. Use 2 masks. So when I'm at work, 100% of the time, I have gloves and masks, and usually I know what I'm kind of going to, you know, so I always get off the truck with the gloves on, and if it's cardiac arrest, we have our special mask that we're going to use. That's special. So there's different types of masks out there. This is just an example. I show this one because this is what most AEDs have this attached to it. This is usually like in a kit next to the AED. So it's possible at your sites at the YMCA that in your office, there's going to be a mask like this there in the same cabinet where the AED is. And then it has the valve on it. So when you blow in, air is not going to go back into your mouth or anything like that. The pointed part of this goes towards the person's nose. So this covers the person's nose and mouth. And you blow through right here.
So they can get the air from both places.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just press it down against her face. So to create a seal, you know, and I always want to have the head back when I'm blowing into somebody, because this opens the airway. If you blow into them like this without putting the hair back, sometimes your tongue drops down and it kind of blocks the airway a little bit. So what I do is I make a seal and I lift the head back, and then you would blow through here. I'm gonna go over the basic steps. When you get to an emergency, something happened to this child, I don't know what happened to him, before you rush in and touch him or start shaking him, or it's better to stop a second and say, why is he on the ground, and assess this area for safety, for your own safety. Because sometimes something really bad happened to him and we don't want that same bad thing to happen to you. So maybe he's touching a power line and you touch him and now you're gonna be electrocuted. So that would be an example that we always use. Maybe he was shot and there's still somebody running around here with a gun. You don't need to be here right now, you know, right? You need to protect yourself. Maybe there's traffic on the roadway, and before you run out there, make sure that's secure. So just make sure it's safe for you, because I don't want you to be the second victim, right? So we always assess when we start. Then when you get here, after you know everything is safe, step 1 of CPR is just really try to wake him up. Why is he on the ground? This doesn't look right. Hey, are you okay? You're gonna tap him on the shoulder, both shoulders. You can shake him a little bit, call out his name. We call him Johnny, wake up. Johnny, can you hear me? Hey, wake up. Johnny, Johnny. He's not waking up. I got a problem. I have an unresponsive child. Right away, you're gonna scream your head off. Help, help, help. You in the Baltimore Ravens sweatshirt. Call 911. And sorry for last year. It just didn't work out well for you guys. Sorry. So you call 911 and come back with an AED. So you don't identify somebody in the room, whether it's by name or description, what they're wearing, the color of the shirt. You call 911 and come back with an AED. You're gonna give that responsibility to somebody. Okay. Or what's usually happening is there's people around, but they're doing what she's doing. They're videotaping, okay? So they're watching. You know, so I need you to stop taping and call 911 right now, right? So I'm gonna identify and tell somebody to do that. Now, if I'm alone, there's nobody here right now, I'm gonna leave the victim and I'm gonna make the phone call myself. So I'm gonna run to the phone, if I have to run to a phone. If not, I'm gonna use my cell phone. I'm gonna call 911. If there's an AED nearby, I'm gonna run and get it, if I know it's nearby. Okay, so it's good for you guys to be familiar where the AEDs are at your sites. So when you guys go back to work, your homework will be identify where the AED is at your site, if you don't already know. And then remember, there might be more than one. You always want to be able to get to the closest one. Right. So again, step 1 is try to wake them up. He doesn't wake up. Step 2 is scream your head off and call for help. Okay, so help has been called. Step 3 is check for breathing. We need to check for breathing. The way we check for breathing nowadays is just stare at him for 10 seconds. I'm just gonna stare at him, right? What I'm really observing is the chest. I'm trying to see if the chest is rising and falling, is really what I'm trying to focus on. Sometimes you can even put your hand there to see if you feel it moving in any way, but I'm focusing on the chest. If I were showing the video today, the video makes this class take a lot longer, so you're welcome for not showing you a video today. But in the video, you see a guy just staring for 10 seconds. And what he's looking at, really, like I said, is the chest. Other things that we can look for, what do I know? I know he's not waking up. His chest isn't moving. When someone's not breathing, they're not gonna look good. So when I look at his face, he doesn't look good. He's gonna look lifeless. You might notice some discoloration around his lips, maybe more of a bluish tone instead of a pinkish tone. So these are some of the things that I can identify that tell me that he's not breathing. Okay, A, he's not waking up, his chest isn't moving, he looks lifeless, and maybe you see some discoloration around the lips. Okay, that's all I need to know. This guy's not breathing, this is cardiac arrest, we're starting CPR. Go straight to the compressions, do compressions first. Location for your hands, right in the center of the breastbone, between the nipple line, right here in the middle of the breastbone. And a child, it's easy, it's right between the nipples, right here in the middle, all right? So the breastbone goes from the base of the neck to the base of the ribs. If you divide the breastbone in half, that's kind of where you want to put your hand, somewhere in this area here. I just don't want it on the very tip of the breastbone. So don't be down here. I need you to be more towards the middle. And again, on the child, right between his nipples is where you want to be. Use a strong hand to compress. For me, it's my right hand. The heel of my hand should be the only part touching the chest. That should be the only part. So I don't want your whole palm on the chest to do this. It should be this. The power is coming from right here. That's where you want it to be, right in the center. Your fingers pointing straight in front of you. So your fingers should not be toward the head and not toward the feet. They should be straight in front of you. Your arm should be in a complete straight line. I can't do that up here on top of this counter, but my arm should be like in a complete straight line. So my shoulder is over the sternum. That's how I want to be. So you'd be kneeling down on the floor with your arms completely locked. Your shoulders should be like in a complete straight line over the sternum. And you want to use your body weight to push in. Do you remember from your last class how many compressions we give and how many breaths we give? And do you remember what the magic number is for CPR? Most people forget.
Was it 15 and 30 or something like that?
It was, you got a mix there of the right answer. It's 30 compressions. It used to be 15.
Okay.
So you do 30 compressions and then you stop and give 2 breaths, is what it is. So 30 and 2 is the magic number for CPR. 30 compressions, 2 breaths. If you're not gonna blow in, then the number doesn't matter because you're just gonna do nonstop compressions, right? So the most important part of CPR though are compressions. They need to be hard, fast, deeper than you think. At least, but choking can happen any single day. You know, I don't know if you've noticed this, some of these kids at the YMCA, sometimes these kids at the YMCA don't listen to you. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed they don't listen all the time? I thought they always listened at the YMCA. Right? So you told them to sit down calmly and chew his snack or whatever, and now the kid's putting things in his mouth and he chokes on something. So when someone's choking, you have to be able to identify choking. Signs of choking: no speaking, no coughing, no audible crying. Okay, you shouldn't hear anything if they have a completely blocked airway, right? So if the kid comes up to you and says, "Teacher, can you help me? I think I'm choking," you would ignore him because he's not choking, he's talking to you. So if someone's, again, truly choking, they won't be able to make any sounds truthfully. No
Or
coughing,
response, yeah.
talking, or audible crying. Also, you can notice that their face looks very scared, a very scared, distressed face. You might see some discoloration starting to happen around his lips. They might be pointing at their neck to alert you, or grabbing their neck, which is the universal sign for choking. If you're ever in a restaurant somewhere choking, they say stand up and grab your neck, and that should alert people around you that you're in trouble. Also, they want you to ask him a question. What's a good question we can ask him to identify that he's choking or not? That's it. That's the best one. Are you choking? You can answer. Just sort of like nod his head a little bit. You're like, all right, I'm going to help you. You're going to get behind him, and we're going to give him abdominal thrusts. Abdominal thrusts. Used to be known as the Heimlich maneuver. They just call it abdominal thrust. Location for this is below the ribs, above the belly button. Remember, CPR was up here, but now we want to be all the way down here. So we like to find where the belly button is. It's right here. Make a fist. The thumb side of your fist goes just above the belly button. Other hand's over. And you give an inward, upward thrust. So it looks something like this. If that didn't work, you do another one. If that didn't work, you do another one. So there's no set number. Just keep doing it. There's only 2 outcomes. It's going to work or he's going to pass out. There's only 2 outcomes. So if it works, it comes out. Hey, are you okay? Man, you scared me. All right, go back out and play in the playground for a little bit. You know? If it doesn't work, he's going to pass out. If he does pass out, call 911 if you haven't already done so, and then you start CPR. All right, CPR. When we talk about babies and why they die, a lot of times it's due to SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. The baby died in the crib, it's also known as crib death. And you find a baby in that condition, you're going to do the best you can, and you're probably going to try CPR. But everything remains dirty and too hard and fast, even though it's a baby. What's different? Instead of like shaking her to wake her up or the baby up, they say you can like just stop the baby like on the bottom of the feet. It's kind of a delicate area in an infant, so we try to stimulate the baby by like doing this. She's not responding to that. help, call 911. You can consider an AED if you have an AED that's appropriate for infants, and there are, most of them are. And then check her breathing for 10 seconds, and I'm observing the chest for rise and fall. She's pale, she's blue, she's lifeless. Her chest isn't moving at all. So give it a good 10 seconds. And okay, she's in cardiac arrest. We're gonna start CPR. And you draw basically a line connecting the nipples and go right at that line with 2 fingers. So with a baby, we just use 2 fingers. So on a child, we used one hand or 2 hands. All right. But on a baby, it's just 2 fingers. If you need to, you could use, like if you have like really long nails, you know, you could do this for you. You know, you could do this, or you could do this. So you could use the heel of one hand if you want to on a baby. That's something a little newer. There's still 30 compressions. On the child, we say compress at least 2 inches deep. On a baby, we say compress at least 1.5 inches deep. Okay, but it's still 30 and 2. And then the other difference is when you ventilate, you don't have to pinch your nose, but your mouth should cover the nose and mouth. So really, the only difference between the baby and the child is here you use 2 fingers, and when you blow in, you cover the nose and mouth. That's really the only difference. Everything else is exactly the same. Try to wake her up, cough for help, check breathing, not breathing, 30 compressions, 30, blow and blow. And you don't have to pinch the nose. Where there is a big difference is followed by chest thrusts. 5 back slaps, 5 chest thrusts. Remember, if they're 1-year-old and up, we do abdominal thrusts. But if they're under 1-year-old, we do 5 back slaps, 5 chest thrusts. On a baby, you can't really ask her, hey, are you choking? Look for other signs of choking. There's no coughing, no audible crying. Her face is scared and distressed. Maybe her lips are turning blue. You're like, I think she's choking. Pick her up and support her on your arm. So her body is like along your arm. Her legs will straddle your arm for support. I keep the head supported by the facial bones like this. Some people do it like this, but either way, I'm just trying to support her head and I keep her downward. Okay, that way gravity is helping me also. And right in the upper back, I do 5 back slaps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If that works, great. If it doesn't work, I'm gonna flip her into the other arm. So I'm gonna put her between both arms and I flip.
Wow.
Now she's on my other arm, the legs straddle this arm. I always have the head supported and I always keep her downward and right at the nipple line, 5 chest thrusts. So 5 in the front, 5 in the back. So just go back and forth. This is very effective. I expect like the first round of it to have worked, but sometimes it's something really stubborn that's not wanting to come out. If you know she goes unresponsive.
Johnny, wake up. Johnny, wake up. Johnny, wake up.
Brother, let's go down.
A little more center, Put your fingers.
Under here.
All right.
That's what I do, right?
Yeah, you got it.
Wow. Let me try. Oh wow, so like when somebody's choking, that's like bringing up the substance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of you, I'm not gonna be out here.
You'll be the one that's gonna be like, get some help, right? Like, but like worst comes to worst, if there's like no help coming, then it's like,
What do we do?
yeah, you would have to try. Yeah.